Hi, my name is Gudrun from GE Designs, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make these adorable GEasy origami bags. You will find a PDF downloadable pattern under free patterns on our website, gequiltdesigns.com, to find all of the measurements. So what we're going to do, I have my fabrics here. You need two fabrics for the inside and the outside of the bag, so accent, something that goes well together. You have either the measurements for the larger bag, which I have here, or the smaller bag. So this one is the larger bag. You have two squares. You layer them right sides together. And then what we're going to do is bring two corners together. I know these have already been rounded. You want to bring two corners together and use either a plate or a corner rounding tool. I used the Roundup tool by Terry Atkinson for Creative Grids. And I use the 4-inch radius side, which amounts to about an 8-inch circle. So maybe if you have an 8-inch plate, you can use that if you don't have the tool. So then we're gonna take this to our sewing machine. We're gonna stitch these two pieces together all the way around. We're gonna leave an opening on one side to be able to turn it inside out. And then once we have it turned and pressed, we press those edges of the opening. And then we're going to go ahead and top stitch just about 1/8 of an inch from the edge all the way around the curves and around the whole edge, closing that little opening. So once you have your piece pressed, we are going to start our origami method. So we have our pointed corners on the sides and then the rounded corners on the top and bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is fold these in and over each other. So here's a few decisions that you can make. I actually start always by just folding my whole piece in half. I give it just a little bit of a press so that I know where my center is. And then I can know to line up my center on a line on my cutting mat. So I am looking at a line on my cutting mat and I lay this out and you can see the creases are matching up on two opposite sides. Maybe my mat might be too long for my camera, but I have this lined up. You want to do this because you want to make sure that as you fold these over, that these folded edges are aligned with a line or parallel with a line so that our folds don't get crooked, then our bag gets crooked. So as we fold these in, you can, like I said, do them almost all the way over each other, or you can do them just overlapping a little bit. This will determine how wide your bag will be. So if we open this one up, this one is big enough. This is the larger size, so big enough to fit a candle or anything like this. So this is the width of the bag this way. So I made this one pretty wide because I wanted to be able to fit a large candle in here. So I want this one to be just a little bit more narrow. So I'm going to fold it a little bit closer. I'm just going to use this guideline here. So this is 4 inches from my middle line approximately. And then I fold the other side over and I also find the line that I need to be along. That's my 4-inch line here. So you want to make sure that your folds make this even all the way down. And you can always double check it. Just grab a small ruler and check how wide is it here. I've got about 8 inches, 8 inches down here. It's looking good right now. So I'm just going to pop a pin right here in the middle to hold all of this together. So now we're going to actually stitch with two seams that are 2 inches apart. So what I do is from that center here, about 1 inch, and this does not have to be super accurate. So about 1 inch. So what I do is I line the ruler here with the edge, and then my 1-inch line is right on the tip of that fold. And I'm just going to use my chalk pen to draw a line here. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So I can just place the 2-inch line on that what I just drew and draw another line here. So we're going to just stitch across here 2 seams following these guidelines. So as you can see now, I have sewn across here. You can just dust your chalk away. But now we are going to be sewing the sides of the bag. So what this does, the more you overlap when you do the initial folding, the deeper the pockets are going to be here on the outside. So outside of the bag, you can like use that as a little extra pocket. So now we're going to fold this in half. So that's just bringing this side over, aligning those curved edges on top. And you want to I just like to use clips here. So I'm kind of aligning that seam, those two seams down here and then up here. And what you want to do is stitch just real close to that. You don't need to take a 1/4 inch seam, just like an 1/8 inch seam from here all the way down, and the same on the other side to sew up the sides of the bag. So now I've sewn up the sides, and I'm just gonna, before I turn it, I want to box the corners. So what that does is makes our bag be able to sit flat. So we do that before we turn it. So what you want to do is pull this out. It's easier to just go in here with your hand, and you want to make sure you go inside those pockets. So you're pushing right with your finger into that corner, and then you want to flatten it out. And then you will see those two seams that you sewed initially, they're kind of matching right here across. So you want to just leave it like this and just follow that seam line right across. I'm going to do it on the other side as well. It just gives you a guideline right away where to go with that. So I'm going to stitch right across the corner. I did a little bit of back stitching on each side just to secure the corners, but we're going to just leave them like this. We don't even have to trim them off. So now we just turn the bag, push out the corners, and it's going to be looking like this, kind of coming together. The last step is just to create our casing for our drawstring. So we are just going to fold over our little round edges here. They don't have to go all the way down. I just kind of eyeball how far I want it down, because we're just going to stitch right across here to create a casing. And I'm going to put a pin how I like it, like this. Do the same on the other side so they look even. Put a pin. And if you want to, you can always use a chalk and draw how deep you want that casing to be. So I like to stitch my line about 3/4 from the edge, and so I just find a setting where on my sewing machine where I can have my foot in a certain place and stitch across. So what you want to do is start sewing on one side here and do a little back stitch to secure, and then sew across, and then you do the same thing on the other side. So now I have created the casing on both sides. Remove our pin. So the last step now is to find either a pretty ribbon or a cording, and we are going to thread that through. So we have 2 equal length pieces, and we want to start on one side and go through this way and then through the other side. So we have 2 ends hanging off of this side, and then we're going to do opposite way. So we're going to go in from this side and out to end up with 2 pieces on that side. And that way, then once I have that threaded through, I just tie off my ends. You can do a pretty bow, but I just tied them in a knot. And then we have our drawstring bag fully ready. All you do is just pull on the loops to close it up. And it has this pretty little rounded edge here, decorative, to make them pretty. I hope you enjoyed making the GEasy origami gift bag. What a fun way to give a gift in something that can be reused for longer time. Thank you for watching.